Hey everybody, welcome back to Workplace's YouTube channel. This is, of course, Mr. Bruce Baker, the business consultant and business builder with Workplaces. And today we're going to be talking about growth equals pain. More sales shouldn't mean more stress. Scale with structure and not chaos. Many business owners believe that growing their business must mean more stress, confusion, and problems. More sales might bring more opportunities, but they can also lead to challenges if a business isn't organized well. But does growth really have to be stressful? In this interview, we'll discuss how growth can happen smoothly and successfully without creating chaos by using clear systems and planning effectively. Businesses can handle increased sales and opportunities without becoming overwhelmed. Our guest specializes in helping business owners achieve sustainable and structured growth. So, Bruce, I'm going to start off with question number one.
Absolutely.
Why do many business owners assume growth equals more stress and chaos?
Well, and thanks for having me again, Trevor. I think the very first thing is they think that because of more volume, and with more volume comes with a really scientific word, more craziness, right? Mm-hmm. So when we think about crazy, last week we spoke about hustle versus chaos. When we think about increased volume, it means that the pieces that we've put in place or we haven't put in place in order to deal with that volume are not exactly there. There's either not enough or not effective enough, or whatever the case may be. But ultimately, if I say to a business owner today, what is the volume like? What is the craziness like or the hustle like in your business right now? And the word always comes up is chaos. It's just crazy stuff. When you ask business owners, so how's business these days? And the first thing they say is, it's just crazy busy, right? Like wearing it like a badge of honor. It's getting busy, and it's getting more and more busier. When business starts to gain more traction, it gets more and more busier. So naturally, there's this hesitation to want to grow sales because I just can't deal with more busy. And primarily the reason for that is because there isn't or aren't enough components in place to deal or organize that volume and subsequently respond to that volume. And that's what business is all about, is to respond to the end user. So they get scared. Well, naturally we'll all fear that a little bit, because how are we going to handle all of this?
Yeah, no, that's 100% accurate. People get busier and they think, how am I gonna? They think it's crazy. You said, crazy busy, and oh man, I'm so stressed. I don't know what to do. All these moving parts. Yeah. But I think we're probably going to get into it in this video, and it's like, it doesn't have to be that way.
Definitely not.
All right. Question number two: What signs indicate that a business is outgrowing its existing systems?
Well, it's the signs are really one particular sign, but then it tends to, or a symptom, I should say, and it tends to go up and open up or broaden up in different types of symptoms. But it's that reactiveness, right? If something happens and suddenly there's more than what I expected, I react to that. But every time I react to something, what do? I put a Band-Aid on it, right? For example, business that suddenly is awarded a large sale, right, the first time in their business history, and it's extremely tempting to say, well, how can I say no to this, right? And then most business owners won't say no to it. Right. You and I both know that that's not the case, but we look like most human beings do. We look at the emotional feeling when we get awarded with this new massive deal. We take it on and say, well, we'll figure it out later, right? Let's take it on and we'll figure it out. As inspiring and wonderful as you might think that is, it just doesn't work all the time. So we take it on, and we then take more on. And the more we do that, we find that our environment becomes reactive. Everything is a knee-jerk reaction. Everything is crazy busy. And crazy busy is not a positive feeling. It's a feeling that I'm just keeping my nose above the water, right? And that is a symptom. It's a big symptom, is that everything's got a small little Band-Aid fixed to it. And nothing really is evolving or gaining traction as the business grows.
Okay, so can you provide us an example of how poor organization negatively impacts business growth?
Well, it's interesting. It impacts business growth in two different ways. The first way is the more obvious way, is that without the organization, right, you are going to hit against a wall. The crazy part is that people know that. People can see the wall. It's like driving down the highway at 120, 130 clicks without a steering wheel, right? Just hoping the car goes straight, right? We all know how that ends up. The same thing in a business. We know that with a lack of organization or with a lack of structure, the positive growth or the positive feeling about growth moving forward abruptly ends in chaos, abruptly ends in business failure. The unfortunate part is that it takes you a long time to garner trust, to build brand, to get people to actually trust that your product or service is great. Your product and service may be great, but if you can't deliver it effectively and the end user becomes the victim at the end of the day, once you break that, it's extremely difficult to get that back again. Like trust in any relationship. That's the first obvious sign that things are just out of control. The other part is the emotional component from a business owner standpoint. When we talk about business traction or business growth, we talk or we use what we call is the builder-protector ratio. And what is the builder-protector ratio? A builder is the one that's less adverse to risk. They are purposefully in it to take the risk, to grow and grow and grow as much as they possibly can. The protector, on the other hand, is the opposite. They are sensitive to risk. They are adverse to growth because they protect naturally. Now, neither one is right or wrong, but as we grow in business, we need a little bit of each. For a business, I'd say anywhere between 1 to 10 employees, your builder-protector ratio is 4 to 1, based on the research that's been done. What happens when we don't have that organization, or we don't have that structure, even a builder, once they hit the wall, they're going to turtle. They're going to become less of a builder. Right. Your protector, on the other hand, is going to absolutely shut down. So without the organization in place, either way, you're headed for an extreme reaction. The business owner or the leader, CEO, whatever you want to call them, they don't realize this. We call it a hidden agent, right? They're unaware of this. And what happens is they see business growth scale back or halt even as a result of not being structured. Our minds are driven that way. If we don't have something to protect traction that we've made already, we're going to pull back naturally. Right? And we don't want that. So simply because of a lack of organization, that's how people respond.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. People get afraid and then they pull back.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what's the first practical step a business owner should take if their business feels chaotic?
Absolutely. It, as a good lawyer will say, it depends, right?
It depends. Always depends.
Depends. Yeah. But no, the real answer to that is, and I know exactly what people are going to think when I say this, is take a deep breath, think about what is not working, and it's easier than what people think. If something is not working, there is always the very first thing that causes it not to work. If you want to run up a flight of stairs, you have to hit the first step first, right? Maybe someone will jump to the second step, but good luck to them. Yeah. But you have to hit the first step first. If you want to build a pyramid, you have to have the first level of the pyramid as foundation first. A problem or an issue in business that is caused by a lack of organization and a lack of organizing a structure is always caused by the very first component that makes that in the first place. Take 5 minutes, deep breath, and think, what is the problem? Dismiss the problem because at the end of the day, it's a symptom that's being caused. And allow yourself to go, what's the first step that needs to take place in this system or this process that I have that is currently not structured or not working, and primarily because it's not organized. And allow yourself to go back to that very first step. Work your way through one step at a time. Well, Bruce, I don't have the time to do this. You absolutely do. It doesn't take you hours to figure this out. You were the one that authored this in the first place. Take the time. What is the very first step? I can almost guarantee you that it'll take no more than 10 minutes of mental time thinking and working your way from step 1, step 2, step 3. In actual fact, most of the time what happens is that people go back to step 1, and what they see as they move from step 1, step 2, step 3, they actually identify not just a discrepancy within that organization, but they also start thinking about, well, you know what, now that I think about it, we could do so much better. We can create so much efficiencies. Why do we do that twice? That sounds redundant to me, right? And this, I promise you, this is 10 minutes of your time, right? Simply start from there, and it works exceptionally well.
Yeah, that's usually the biggest excuse that I get when I challenge people to make a system. I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
It's like, of course you do. Of course you do.
Well, not having time for something that is going to save you droves of time, right? Hours and hours of the problem. But we've got to remember, and this is something that I think people need to always keep in mind, is that our natural state as people, as humans, as a species, is flight or fight first. So if I have to take 10 minutes out of my time, call it the reactive crisis time that I deal with it, because I got to keep above water, I got to survive, right? That's what naturally stops us. And it's very normal. I want people to know that it's not abnormal to do that. But in order to build a business, it's not about what you think. If your business could talk, what would your business say it needs for superior performance? Personify that for a second and think about what is not in place that's causing this problem, and start there.
Yeah. No, that's great advice. What specific tools or frameworks that you'd recommend for managing growth?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of business owners ask me, I need systems. I need tools to help me systematize, to help me organize. And depending obviously of what industry you're in, there's some fantastic tools out there. From a more generic standpoint, there are 3 important tools that I think people should check out almost immediately. The first is Monday.com.
Okay.
And Monday.com has become quite a popular reference these days. And it's something that we structure and build for numerous businesses, and been doing it for years. Monday.com is essentially a project management tool, but it also is superbly impressive when it comes to automating flow, right? And remember, your business is a flow of different processes, right? And Monday.com really helps you organize that flow from the time the business starts doing whatever it does to the time that it hands the service or product over to the consumer. So Monday.com, check it out, and it's free to start, but it's a revolutionary tool for sure. The other one, more so specifically for construction industry, is JobTread. And JobTread, I mean, there are many out there, like, Build a Trend or House, whatever the case may be, and they're all great tools. One in particular that is relatively new on the scene is JobTread. And, my construction clients, we've introduced that, we've rolled it out, and it is an absolute game changer for any construction company that's either starting out or is, in the midst of getting traction in their business. Fantastic tool to use.
Nice. Okay. Can you share a success story where a business transferred from chaos to structure? Yeah,
it's a good entree to, or at least a good lead from the previous question. We implemented. Well, let me start with this. It's a construction business that was, I say, around about 2 to 3 years old at the time, and everything from the initial estimate to drafting, estimating, all the way to managing the project. I kid you not, was an Excel sheet. And they love this Excel sheet. The owners love this Excel sheet because it was developed by a developer, some Excel guru.
Sure.
And very impressive, to say the least, but realized that it started to create a lot of redundancies. I mean, Excel is a fantastic tool, but it only goes so far.
Sure.
And we implemented JobTread. Initially, there was a sticker shock, meaning, well, I don't want to pay $200-300 a month at blah, 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 blah. And luckily, they gave us a trial and extended the trial. But it's been probably about a year and a half since they started implementing JobTread. And it's not just helping with the actual construction process from estimate to final walkthrough. It's created metrics and dashboards for them. The way that they measure their business has changed. And the cool part about it is that, any good construction company is always concerned about direct cost. So for every dollar we make, how many cents do we have to spend on our direct costs? It's actually helped them determine what to do to minimize waste and increase efficiencies.
Nice.
And has given them easily 5 to 6 points back on their gross profit line.
Perfect. That's really good. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Actually.
Absolutely.
That's the first I've heard of it.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah, very good.
Now let's talk about getting business owners, who are going through a structural change, getting their employees on board.
Yeah.
Like what are your recommendations for them to do that?
I've got a great example, actually, a very recent example. Last year, December, working with a manufacturing company, a very good company. We've worked with them for at least 7 years now, and we needed to do a complete structure overhaul of the business because of inefficiencies and profitability issues. And we came to a point where we built a standard operating procedure. Now, as we indicated a couple of recordings ago, a standard operating procedure in a binder or a PDF document is not really good when you build it and you put it aside.
Yeah.
The other big problem with that is when business owners do decide to build these standard procedures and organize them with an SOP format, they tend to build it by themselves. And it's unfortunate because it's a lost opportunity. And the reason why I say that is an SOP or a procedure or implementing something like that, it has to be bought in by your employees. Now, lots of managers or owners might say, well, they've got a job, I employ them, they just need to comply. Sure, that's a short-term, not a very sustainable approach.
Right.
What we did was we involved the entire management team together with a few key employees, and we just rolled it out 2 days ago. And the adoption of this has almost immediately started. Like literally yesterday, working through the process, them saying, things like, hey, you know what, we should actually build a checklist for this, stick it up on our walls so we can go through it step by step by step. So the engagement and the way that they've involved themselves in this has been fantastic. The cool part is that the business owner with his VP literally sits back and watches this unfold with them taking the lead.
Nice.
Not the business owner taking the lead. And that's been very successful.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, having the overarching, purpose of the SOP, but then having the people who are going to be implementing the system create the system.
You betcha.
Yeah, no, that's good. I love that. Okay, let's talk about entrepreneurs, business owners, builders. What misunderstandings do they have about actually creating systems and structure?
Well, it's a misunderstanding, but it is also a fear, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy where business owners are saying they know they need to implement it, but they don't have the time, they don't have the money. They don't really say they don't have the money, but they don't have the time, and as such, I'm going to spend way too much time doing this, which is a money thing, it's a profit thing. And it's a fear, but it doesn't allow them to get there to truly understand what needs to be put in place or be put in place to prepare them to do this. They avoid it, right? And the misunderstanding there or the misinterpretation is that it's going to take me so much time, so much effort, and it's going to cost time and not getting into the field and not being able to offer what we continue to offer to our customers. Also, my employees just don't have time to learn new things. They're going to reject it. Right. But as we discussed before, there's a way to get people involved. So the only thing that's outstanding is the time to do it. And this misinterpretation of what is going to happen is very unfortunate because the time is far shorter than what most people realize. You know your business really well. Your employees who perform well are performing well for a very reason. They know the business quite well in their respective positions. So that is so not accurate. It doesn't take the amount of time that people think. The other misinterpretation that I come across quite a bit is the fear of too much structure. And when I first encountered this a couple of times, I'm thinking, why on earth would people feel that structure is a problem or organization's a problem? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the times I get people saying, it's going to curb our creativity. It's going to, I kid you not, this is what I hear, it's going to curb our creativity. I don't want my employees to be put in this rigid structure that they can't be entrepreneurial. They can't think outside the box, as people say. And that is so far from the truth. As we had mentioned a couple of recordings ago, it's not about having these stiff guardrails, right? Because we know that if we hit the guardrail and it's too stiff, it's going to cause a lot of damage. An SOP or a procedure and subsequent tools like checklists are there as guidelines. Well, Bruce, if they're not rules, then how can they be guidelines and vice versa? Mm-hmm. They are always standard ways in which you go about things which people need to, for lack of a better word, comply with, or else we have inconsistency in a business. Mm-hmm. And if we have inconsistency in a business, we have inconsistency in a system. And if we have inconsistency in a system, we have problems, we have chaos. Yeah. As long as we are working within the bounds of the SOP, of the procedure, that interpretation of destroying creativity, entrepreneurialism, is completely false. In actual fact, it enhances it. And the way it enhances it is when your employees are comfortable enough to say, hey, boss, this seems a bit redundant. Can we improve this? Can we look at a way of doing it a little differently? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And once you give your employee that feeling of freedom to express and to be involved in making things better, holy smokes, it does make a huge difference in your company.
Yeah, no, that's great. And, having the discipline of the SOP or the checklist really gives you freedom within the confines of it to be even more creative and come up with better ideas.
Absolutely.
That's the way I think of it anyways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you don't have that structure, then I think people get stuck not knowing what to do. So they don't do anything.
Absolutely.
Or they do the wrong thing.
You betcha.
So having that structure, at least they know the direction they need to go. They've got, the compass directing the way, but they're not stuck not doing anything. Have that analysis paralysis.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. You remind me of a client I was speaking to yesterday. They're also a manufacturing company and using Monday.com, and Lord only knows we've tried different versions of Monday.com, and the most recent one we built for them was really complex, right? Okay. Because within a manufacturing environment, you've got these little, so many moving parts, it becomes complex. And the response I got, I think we've outgrown this Monday.com, and eventually, I came to the conclusion. I said, Matt, I don't think it's about outgrowing any system, because a tool's a tool. But a tool relies on one most important thing, is that people understanding what their role is, what they're responsible for, but also from a lean manufacturing standpoint, if people know that, there's the supplier and the customer. If I have to do one task first before it goes over to you in the process, you are my customer. I am your supplier. Yeah. You rely on me to get my stuff done. What's important with an SOP in terms of clarity is that I know what Bruce does, and when I receive what he does, whatever he does, I know I can confidently take it on. I can also know the timing that he's going to be completed with that, so I can continue doing my thing. So it's predictable. And that's what we want in business. Business owners always want to understand, they'd love to know what's behind the corner. What's the blueprint for growth? What's the blueprint for success? Yeah. I tell you, there's one great place to start. Get some consistency, organize that so each one of your team members understand what their roles are and understand what they can expect from the person before them and the person after them.
Yeah, no, that's great. Sets up accountability too.
Huge.
Yeah. So what's one actionable tip that business owners can implement immediately to reduce stress and improve their growth?
I know people are going to think this is funny or ridiculous, but when you look at a little kid, they always ask the why question. Why? And the brain does that very naturally. But they also play a game called and then. Take an opportunity, whether it's on a whiteboard or a piece of paper or whatever the case, whatever you'd like to use. And when you know that there is a symptom, and notice I'm not saying a problem, a symptom, whether it's cash flow related issues, whether it's logistical issues, the outcome is not there. I want to encourage people to say, okay, where does this start? It starts here. And then what happens after that? But also ask yourself the question, why? So there's not just an understanding of procedure, it's also an understanding of why did you do that in the first place? Why did we have that step in the first place? And again, no more than 10 minutes of your time, quiet place, write down 1 step, 2 step. And then, why then? Why did that happen? Why do we make that decision? And you'd be very, very surprised what you come up with, and start just looking at your business at a real basic level, as opposed to saying, we have a system in place already. I don't see any problems with it. So that can't be causing the cash flow issue. Well, 9 times out of 10, that is causing the cash flow issue. You just need to give yourself an opportunity to take a deep breath, start with the first step, and ask those 2 questions. And then, why?
Yeah. And another thing that I was thinking about was that's why having a daily huddle is so important, because then you can discuss things that kind of went wrong the day before in the system or the process, and come up with solutions as a group in that huddle. So you're always, revamping and changing those things, or you discover that, oh man, we completely missed this, and we can set up a system for that so that doesn't happen again.
100%. And it goes back to your previous question where we speak about accountability and getting people involved in stuff. Having the huddle is as you correctly say, is a phenomenal opportunity to not just, okay, I sat down and I did what Bruce said, step 1 and why and all that type of stuff, but I still can't figure it out. It's absolutely phenomenal to get your team to give you that feedback. But remember, they're only going to give the feedback if they feel comfortable giving the feedback.
True.
And in the huddle is a great opportunity to set those expectations. Guys, I've been struggling, like a client of mine a couple of years ago, just couldn't get the production piece flowing right. And I'll never forget one of the leads in the team, her name was Christina. She said, hey, have we tried this? There was this absolute silence in the group, right? And the first question he asked, he said, what did you eat for breakfast this morning? That's phenomenal, right? And it's genius for us because we're thinking, and we're just not getting anywhere. We're stuck. We're people too. But people that are not in that groove, i.e. your frontline employees, can offer you so much valuable stuff. It's crazy.
Awesome. Love it. Well, thanks so much, Bruce, for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. And if you guys are in need of some help, you want to grow your business, you want to get unstuck, you want to get out of chaos and into structure and creating systems, go to Workplaces. Check them out. Thanks so much, Bruce.
My pleasure. Thank you.